Hello and welcome. Today's project is all about the anxious personality. And last week I was talking about avoidance, how somebody with anxiety would avoid anxiety provoking situations, and how facing those situations actually makes that person braver and stronger. And that's the path towards desensitization. And then this week I'm talking about reassurance seeking. Now, reassurance seeking was really big in my anxiety disorder when I was suffering in the past, but also I was suffering all of these things that I'm talking about: the avoidance, the generalizing, and then this week reassurance. I went through them all, and reassurance seeking is when you go to that friend, that loved one, the forum, or Dr. Google, or the real doctor for confirmation that what is going on, that you're okay health wise, that you're okay. And for me, going through my anxiety disorder, I needed that confirmation, but it was just a temporary band-aid. It was that reassurance seeking was like water through a strainer, right? I couldn't hold on to that reassurance because how could I? My foundation below me was like sand. It was bad. I had poor beliefs. I believed I was unhealthy. I believed I was weak-minded. So that reassurance seeking was like water through a strainer. I couldn't hold on to that. And my unconscious was like, no, 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 I don't believe you. To everybody that gave me that reassurance. So, for example, if it was a loved one, my parents, they would provide me, oh, everything's okay, you're healthy, you'll deal with it, and I was like, no. My unconscious was like, no, I'm unhealthy, and I'm weak, and I'm going to die, and all of these poor beliefs were there. And so that reassurance did me no good. And so I got that reassurance. My unconscious, the part of you that's 90 to 95% of who you are as a person, that voice speaks out when you get that temporary band-aid, right? It's like, I don't believe you, like you go back to your set mindset, your poor beliefs that just keep your foundation the way it is. So you go two ways about it when you get that reassurance. The first thing is you believe it for a second. It's like, oh, I'm going to be fine. Thanks for the reassurance. Well, you believe it for a moment. It's like eating cake, right? You eat cake. It feels good for the moment, but then afterwards you get the consequences. You get the blood sugar spikes, right? You get the drowsiness, the fatigue. You feel like crap after you eat it. And so reassurance seeking is like another one of those temporary fixes. It provides you with that feel good for the second, but then all of a sudden afterwards you go back to the sensation, the heart palpitation, the pain, the aches and pains, the body zaps, whatever they are. But then, like I said before, your unconscious can be like right away reject the reassurance. Like, no, I don't believe you. No, you don't understand what I'm going through. You don't understand. I'm the only one with this certain illness, right? Because that's what anxiety sufferers believe, that whatever they have is only unique to them, and that's just the way it is. They're in unknown territory. What that means is they're in limbo. They don't know what is going on. They don't believe their doctors. They don't believe their parents. They're on the internet searching desperately for answers. So they're in this unknown space. But when I ventured and tried to find the answers, and then I did, and I found out I had health anxiety, I found out I had anxiety, what happened was I moved from that unknown limbo, that territory, to known unknown. Now I know, oh wait, it's anxiety. Now that's good. Now I know what it is, but it's still unknown because I have to learn about anxiety now. So it's now known unknown, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to attach a label to, I have health anxiety, because now it's the beginning process. It pushes you forward to that knowledge journey, right? It's that learning process. Okay, now what is anxiety? Now you're a student of anxiety. Now you have to learn about anxiety, and then you continue the forward motion towards your recovery journey, right? So the reassurance seeking is also a cry for help as well, because that person's in unknown. They're going for that reassurance through their doctor, through a loved one, continuously, and it's a cry for help because they're in unknown. They don't know what's going on. It's chaos. It's utterly chaos. Their glass is overflowing with water, the glass being themselves, and it's just overflowing. There's no balance, right? The glass is just pouring and pouring and pouring, and it's just chaos. It's a mess. So when someone has high levels of anxiety, they are extremely sensitive to the world around them. They're extremely sensitive, and they want to numb the pain, and so they go to that reassurance. They go, that piece of cake, right, is just temporary, but then they go back to the reality, and then they keep going back to that reassurance because they're afraid of being alone, right? They're afraid of being alone with their sensations because of the fear of their own mortality. They're not even comfortable in their own skin. They're afraid of their own mortality. And when I was suffering, I remember lying in bed all day because I was feeling all of these sensations. My anxiety was at a level 9 and 10. And I remember calling up my sister and asking her to come over because I didn't want to be alone. I was scared out of my mind with this anxiety. So then the question becomes, how do you stop the reassurance seeking? Well, the question really is, how brave are you willing to be being alone? Because remember last week I talked about avoidance and how you must face your fears. And so facing your fears is the path to desensitization. Being comfortable with yourself. This is an independence journey. You're developing this independence, and I was too, right? I was very dependent on the reassurance seeking. And so I had to develop this new identity, this independence. And so I had to replace reassurance seeking with something else. So once I moved to the known unknown territory, I found out I had anxiety. I then did what I had to do to learn about anxiety. So I had my role models around me 24/7, and that's via YouTube, via podcasts. So I was continuously learning about anxiety all the time. And so instead of going to my parents or my relationship, to Maggie or to my doctor, whatever it was, I then turned to that role model for that knowledge, right? It's like, what am I going through? And then they were providing me with the knowledge to move forward. So replace the reassurance seeking with something healthy, because now that you're going through the recovery journey, your identity has to shift. Your lifestyle, it has to shift. And so replace reassurance with meditation. Replace reassurance with a walk, some exercise. Replace reassurance with some journaling. Replace reassurance with, that podcast or that video of your role model talking about the recovery journey that is anxiety. So that's what I did. And so I started to attach and create a new foundation that I am healthy because of these new habits. These new habits were forming this healthy Brad identity. Instead of me going out to that negative friend, instead of me eating that junk food or just playing video games or watching that movie and just ignoring the responsibility around me, I was working on myself to be this new identity because I didn't like my old self. I hated that Brad. You have to hate that part of you. You have to hate that lifestyle you used to live. I started to look at my old lifestyle differently. My perspective shifted and I hated the way I used to be. And so that gave me the drive to continue listening to those productive podcasts and then embracing this new lifestyle slowly and slowly and slowly. But I was just gradually building this new character. And that's what the recovery process is all about. Gradually failing and then building up again. Failing, building it up again. But making every day an opportunity to move towards that new you, right? Surrounding yourself with the right habits and the right role models. And so how do you shift your beliefs? Well, because you're, like I said earlier, your beliefs are that rocky foundation under you, and that's preventing you from like really you know, embracing that reassurance from your parents or whoever's offering it, right? Because when they give it to you, your unconscious is like, I reject it. And so how do you shift those beliefs within your unconscious mind? Because that's where they are. They're in your unconscious. Well, act differently. Change your lifestyle. Do things your old self didn't do or would not do. Like I said last week, it's that venturing off into the unfamiliar territory. Because now that you've moved to the known unknown, now it's time to keep the process going and going and going further and further along. This is a new lifestyle. You're not going to overcome anxiety by putting band-aids on it. You're not going to overcome anxiety by engaging in that reassurance seeking day in and day out, because your underlying fears are keeping that cycle going and going. You have to face your fears. If you're not willing to face your fears and change your lifestyle, how are you going to overcome anxiety? And that's where I'm going to leave you on today's video. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And remember, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be the first to know. Namaste.